for the wonderful introduction. And you are a good friend of mine as well. Welcome all. Good evening to this session for today, which will be an amazing session. And we promise that you will enjoy and learn. Now, evaluating by others is not a guide for me. Of course, many of us have said this many times before. This phrase can be true anywhere, but not in Toastmasters. As in Toastmasters, evaluation is a key for success. Evaluation in Toastmaster is all about constructive and positive feedback and rooms for improvement. And in contests, we have also evaluation contests where ambitious Toastmasters get to sharpen their tools and show us their best way of evaluating a speech. This is why it is a very important segment, and judges who are up to this contest should be very competent, should be aware of how to do this. And for today, we have a very, very skillful and competent and wonderful and amazing Toastmaster who will be helping us, training us to be good judges for this segment. Our trainer for today is DTM Nancy Vijo. She is DTAC 20 champion for both table topic and evaluation. And she is a behavior skill practitioner who practices behavior therapy with children as a profession. Also, she is a professional trainer, corporate trainer in Kuwait. Now, help me welcome our trainer for today who will be giving us this session, DTM Nancy Vijo.
Thank you, TM Heba. Good evening, Toastmasters all over the world, and a special good evening to everyone who logged in today. It's really nice to have you all here. And before we start, let me just share my presentation, and then you must be thinking, all right, so we've got many trainers. They've been district leaders, we've had people in the forefront, but why her? She's just a champion, just a District 20 champion for Toastmasters, for table topics and evaluation last year. This is my story. I joined Toastmasters in 2014 in January, and I contested only for 1 year. That year, I realized that I did not have an idea as to what are the little tidbits that could make a speech a better speech, or what is it that that judges all over the world were looking for? What is it? How is it that you judge? And so the next 3 years in my life, those next 4 years in my Toastmasters journey, I took an effort to attend every judges training that was held. And then I started enrolling as judges. Enrolling as judges for different competitions. I put my name out there. I said, I'm interested, teach me. Can I be a judge? How do I be a judge? What do I look into? How can I see what are you looking into? And then in 4 years' time, when I became a judge, I learned what exactly it is that they're looking for. And after 4 years, on the 5th year, I went in and I contested. I contested in the club, I won. I contested in the area, I won. I contested in the division, I won. And I contested at DTAC, I won. If there is one secret to winning, that's not just about what your content is or how you deliver it or what sort of a great speaker you are. The other content is your knowledge as a judge. What is it that a judge looks for? What is it that you should do? What is it that you should say that you get there with the judge? And so today, I would be sharing a mix of my personal experience into a very, very practical workshop. It's a very hands-on practical workshop. Might be a little different from what you've experienced the last 2 days. And you will be having pre-test and post-test, so it's going to be a literal workshop. Though I cannot see everybody's faces, I can see a couple of them roll their eyes and think like, no test, we are done with it. But no, we are going to go through a few tests and you will know why at the end of the session. So once again, let me welcome you all to the Art of Judging Evaluation. And I'm DTM Nancy George Vijo. we will start with the objectives, a pre-test. Because you need to know where you stand as a judge for evaluation before the training. Because when you do that, by the end of the training, you take the test again, you will know the level of improvement that you have had, and that's going to make you feel so good. And also, personally, I have a very selfish desire. It makes me feel good too, to see that you guys have improved really well, and that at least in one way that I've been contributing to that. The second part that we will cover is a recap. What is your promise as a judge? What are the judging techniques? The third would be your evaluation ballot or the arts. The fourth one would be a practice mock contest, because in this mock contest, each one of you who's attending is given the rights to be a judge to an amazing speaker and to amazing evaluators. Let me not spoil the surprise, you will know as it comes along. And after which we will be tallying the results, and we will discuss the results and get to know why or how is it the thought process, how was the thought process for all the judges who have voted today and who have marked people. Now, the people who are going to benefit most from this are both of my evaluators, because they are going to be evaluated by so many of you, and with that evaluation itself, they can take their evaluation to a completely different notch. And at the end, we will have a post-test. All right, if you are all ready, let's start. So learning to give a speech is important, but almost equally so is learning to listen critically, analytically, and then to give the speaker their benefit, said our very own founder, Ralph C. Smedley. May I ask the moderators to post the link to the first post-test, please? First pre-test. So what you're supposed to do, dear audience and Toastmasters, friends of mine, you need to go click the link, answer the test, and get back in 2 minutes. Can I please ask the moderator to post the link?
Yes, it's done on the group.
Done.
Okay.
DTM Nancy? DTM Nancy, you may continue.
Thank you, Raymond. All right. So now it's time to move on So what is your promise as a judge? There are 3 things that you promise when you sign off on the code of ethics by the judge. Number 1, I will avoid bias. Number 2, I will not time. And number 3, I will respect rules. Now I can literally imagine some people saying, oh shucks, if I had got the last one right, the answer should have been right? Let's go through each of this in detail. What exactly is I will avoid bias? You know how we are sometimes, as judges, as human beings, tend to be on the bias side when it comes like, oh, this person is from my club, or probably this person is from area. I want someone to represent my club. I want someone to represent my area. Or if I do not put this person up, probably there would be no representation from our division in the district. So let me do this. Or she's too young, she's not really experienced, so let's not really put her up. Why don't we put this person? He's got a winning streak. Let me just put him up. Or probably, oh, he's always won. So it's better that we put, it's very easy. I don't even have to listen because I know this guy is going to win, and then you bias him. This is a violation of our ethical code as a judge. So always remember, number 1, I will avoid bias. Number 2, I will not time. You do not need to time as a judge because you have a timer. And the reason why they say this is when your mind is focused on timing somebody, it takes off the focus of what you're actually supposed to do as a judge, which means to select a winner by grading him accordingly in all the segments that's listed. Number 3, I will respect rules. It's pretty easy. You're just supposed to respect and follow the contest rules and the judging standards. So the 3 main points that you need to remember as a judge, as a promise of a judge is, I will avoid bias, I will not time, I will respect rules. This is again a recap of what's happened yesterday by DTM Wafa Salman, District 20 Director. She had already covered this, but I would just put a light, just bring it back once again and to refresh your memories by reminding you there are different judging techniques. Out of 3 is what, and I'm going to explain just 3 out of the many. 1 is perfect role model. So when you're going to judge, there are so many contestants, and sometimes you get confused. You're like, oh, okay, where do I start? How do I even start? Like, is there a perfect number in my head? Is there do I start from a particular number, or do I start grading a person first and comparing the rest of the people's grades based on this person? Or do I have a standard set in my head? All the examples, all the thought processes that I have said is just put into 3 simple terms. The perfect role model, which means you have an expectation of standard in your head. Everybody has this. This is a method that everyone can follow. And based on that expectation, you grade. For example, I might need something like, I might have like, okay, this person needs to say probably 2 points of improvement, 2 great points, and 2 suggestions, and he needs to explain it in this particular way. And then when I listen to the speaker, I have the set standards in my mind, and if the person reaches the standard, I give him, if he reaches the standard, I give him a particular score and compare every other speaker to this standard that I have set. The second type is the first speaker model. It's a very simple technique to follow, and I think most of you might follow this technique. You listen to the first speaker, you grade the first speaker. The rest grade, the comparative grading of all the other speakers is based on this first speaker who has spoken. The third is a baseline model. So you prepare a base, you have a fixed base score in your head, and from that you deviate plus or you deviate minus. It's pretty easy. So for example, if out of a judgment segment that's 40, and I have set a standard of 15 in my head, okay, 15 is going to be a base standard if the person does so and so and so. So this person, if he does better, it is going to be 15 plus whatever percentage or whatever number I feel he did better is what I would score. So 3 of the judging techniques, recapping from DTM of Salman's presentation yesterday, is perfect role model, first speaker model, and baseline model. Now is when we get into my segment, the evaluation judges ballot. It's it's a very important point that when you go as a judge for a particular category, you do not have the time to look through all the ballot paper. You can't look through the ballot paper and see, oh, okay, analytical, I have to see if it is specific and concise. Was he specific and concise? Not really sure, I don't remember. Recommendations, what all did he give? And what do I have to look through recommendation? That is not done. When you are a judge, when you know you're going to be a judge for a particular segment, do your homework. And by doing your homework, I mean you need to know what are the criteria, what are the evaluation criteria by heart. Yes, I did say it, by heart. You literally got to mug up because that's your responsibility as a judge. You need to be fair. Your mind needs to be clear. You need to know what you're going to evaluate the person against. How are you going to score the person? That is not the time for you to get familiarized with the ballot. So before the end of the training, I promise you that you will learn the ballot by heart. In a very simple acronym, ARTS. To evaluate, to be a judge in evaluation segment, you need to know ARTS. A-R-T-S. A, analytical quality. R, recommendations. T, technique. And S, summation. Once again, ARTS. A-R-T-S, analytical quality, recommendation, technique, summation. I'm sure most of you must have learned it right now. If you didn't, let's delve deeper. So what exactly is analytical quality? What do you mean by it? Analytical quality, there are three things that you look at it. One, when a person speaks, so there is a speaker, there's a target speaker who comes. Your role as a judge starts the moment the target speaker speaks. Because not only do you evaluate the evaluators, you need to listen critically, listen carefully to what the target speaker has said to have an idea of what are the points, what are the great points, what are the possible improvement points that could be made. What was the entire story? What was the entire summary? And I'm sure each of you who had been part of yesterday's training has already learned how to judge an international speech. Once you listen to this speech, this target speech given by the target speaker, then starts your role as a judge for the evaluation. The first thing that you look at is analytical quality. So, three things that you see. One, did the evaluator analyze the strengths and weakness of the presentation? So, as an evaluator, the moment the person listens, there would be a list in the person's head. Okay, I'm going to have, these are the strengths of the speech, these are the weaknesses, and out of these weaknesses, I feel so many weaknesses are important. These are the things that I can bring out. Second, now, there's going to be at least maybe 6 or 7 weaknesses that the person says. But in a 3-minute segment, an evaluator absolutely cannot cover all the points. And that's where, are the comments clear and logical? Are they clear? Whatever was explained, was it clear? Was it logical? And the third, did the evaluator identify specific strengths and weakness? So you don't have to. First, the evaluator is expected to analyze everything. Second, he's supposed to identify only those specific ones which are going to be helpful to the speaker, which is going to come in the next segment. And third, whatever comments the evaluator said, was it clear? Was it logical? This covers the A, or the analytical quality, out of ARTS. A-R-T-S, A is done. 2, recommendations. R, what is the evaluator expected? What recommendations are the evaluator expected to give? 1, it's supposed to be helpful, practical, and positive. Have you been part of contest where evaluators would just come and just rip the contestant apart? Come and rip the target speaker apart. The first thing when someone approaches you and say, hey, there's a contest, do you think we would like to be the target speaker? Have you gone to that situation where, you see the person literally move back and disappear into thin air? I don't know about you guys, but I have. I honestly have. I've literally disappeared into thin air. I've literally stuck my head into the floor because I never wanted to be a target speaker, because all I can think about are evaluators who would come and rip me apart brutally. Probably something like, oh, what you said didn't make sense, and it doesn't really feel good, right? So what exactly are you looking for? What recommendations should the evaluator give? And in which evaluator, based on what recommendation do you judge an evaluator are the recommendations practical? Are they practical? Let me just dwell on this practical part again. So we know that majority of the Toastmasters might not have English as a native language. So there is this accent issue that might happen with most of the speeches. So if you tell a person who's been speaking that particular way for years, don't underestimate anyone. You can't assume that this person hasn't tried to change. Probably they must have. They're in Toastmasters for a reason. They must have. And how practical would you think if you say something like, oh, you speak, I think you probably would have to change your accent because the way you speak is like you speak your native language or some other language. How practical is that? That's where your role as a judge comes. The suggestions that are given, are they practical? Are they helpful? Are they positive? Is it going to enable that speaker to make himself or his speech better the next time? Or is it going to pull him down? That is a very critical, very, very critical role that you as a judge would have to take. With this, we covered the R of the arts. We finished analytical quality, and we have finished recommendations. Now the third part, the T, technique. What exactly is technique? So a technique it's a manner in which the evaluator presents his comments or his recommendations in a way that is sensitive to the feelings and needs of the person. Let me highlight that again. Sensitive to the feelings and needs of the speaker. Basically, after an evaluation, the person who receives the evaluation is supposed to feel motivated, That person should feel like making the change. I want to make this better. Okay, I did a great job. I did the best I could do. I need to make this better. That feeling has to come from within. And has your evaluator instilled that feeling? Has he been sensitive to the feeling and the needs of the speaker? And has it been encouraging? Did it inspire the speaker to move further? That is the T. That is what we mean by T of arts. So we finished analytical quality, recommendation, and techniques. I sound like a tape recorder to myself since I can't see all of you. I can't hear any voice. I just feel like I'm talking to a wall, but yeah, that's not what we're going to get trained at, I guess.
You're doing great, Nancy. You can hear me. Thank you.
Okay, better. Thank you. So the next one, the last one of arts is called summation. So imagine you listening to someone speak throughout, you say, oh my God, you did amazing. This was good. I loved so and so and so of your speech. And I think these things could be made better. And he states examples and the whole thing. And if he just walks off, the speaker's going to be hung in the air. He's like, okay, I heard a lot of things. So what do I do exactly? That's what you don't want to happen. So at the end, you need to make sure that your evaluator has concluded the evaluation, because evaluation in itself is a speech. Just like any other speech, evaluation is a speech. It needs to have an opening, a body, a conclusion, in whatever way, or you can sandwich it. You can do it any way that that person wants, but it needs to have a conclusion. And it's specifically stated as S, the summation. So in the summation, what is the evaluator expected to say or do? The evaluator is supposed to briefly summarize all the comments and suggestions and end it in a positive and encouraging tone. Highlight, summarize the suggestions and comments, and end it in a positive and encouraging tone. Briefly summarize, which says, okay, but basically what happens is, after you start with analyzing the strengths and the weaknesses of the person and picking out those points which were great and which were bad, which were great and which needed to be improved. Bad is a wrong word, never use it. Which needed points of improvement. The next thing that you do is, after you analyze these, is you give examples. Okay, if you could do this, for example, rather than saying something like, oh, you need to bring in more vocal variety to your speech, you'd be like, okay, sure, no problem. That's a great suggestion. But what vocal variety do you want me to bring? Have you ever been there? You know, that confused expression where an evaluator comes and says, great body language, you did amazing, you walked from this end of the stage to that end of the stage, and the stage is like a huge football, that's another thing. And then they say, oh, you're, and then you confuse, okay, I walked from one end of the stage onto the other end of the stage, and that's great body language. Okay. And then you say, but your vocal variety wasn't good enough. What exactly in vocal variety wasn't good enough? So you need to briefly summarize. For example, does your evaluator say things like, okay, maybe you should reduce your pauses, or put pauses, or increase your volume, or bring about a tone. You know, when you feel sad, reduce your voice, change the tone of your speech. When you're angry, speak in an angry tone. You know, those are the things that you actually explain. And then when you summarize, that's what you look for. When you summarize, it should be like, work on your tone, not work on your vocal variety. Vocal variety is huge. Work on your body language is huge. Look for specific briefing, summarize. Look whether your evaluators are briefly summarizing their comments and their suggestions and ending it in a positive and encouraging tone. So right now you have actually finished by hearting, learning it by heart, literally learning the evaluation ballot. Don't trust me? Take a look. You have literally learned arts. The art of judging evaluation is by learning arts. ARTS. Analytical quality, recommendations, technique, and summation. In analytical quality, you need to see if the person is clear and focused. Recommendations, we got to see if the evaluator has been positive, specific, and helpful. Number 3, techniques, we need to make sure that the evaluator was sympathetic, sensitive, and motivational. And 4, the summation, was it concise? Cannot be broad. Was it concise, and was it encouraging? These are the things that you look for. Now, there are suggested value points or point values that are put in a ballot, basically divided into 4. I am a behavior technician by behavior skills technician or behavior analyst by profession, and I practice behavior therapy. So we believe that every behavior can be changed in specific manners. So for example, even the training follows a particular behavioral pattern. So when we train somebody, we follow a 4-point pattern, okay, which starts with you provide the knowledge to the person. You speak about it, you provide knowledge, you explain how it is done. The second one, you model how it's done. The third, you make them practice. And the fourth, you give them feedback. So we have already finished the explanation. I've already showed you what you look for and how you score. And now is the third part, the practical part. So right now we are all going to go into a mock contest. It's just a mock contest. Each of you are judges. For this workshop to be successful, each of you would have to take this feedback, the link that's going to be sent, because this ballot, I have kind of created it into a quiz. The same items, the same judging items on the ballot are actually made into a quiz for the purpose of the training. Because once you all take the quiz, we are going to use the results of the quiz to see how we all collectively think as judges. And then individually, each of you can analyze, all right, this is how the rest of them as judges have marked, and this is where I have marked. This is how I have marked it. So where do I stand different? Or probably where could I improve? That understanding will only come if each of you attempt the test. I know the test sounds scary. It's not a test, it's just a ballot. Now it's time to move on to the mock contest, and I would ask TM Heba, the screen is all yours.
Okay, so now this is a mock contest, so we will run it as a mock contest. Now, speech contests are an important part of the Toastmasters education program. The evaluation contest follows the rule of Toastmaster International Speech Contest rulebook and begins with the presentation of a 5 to 7 minute test speech. Timers for the test speaker, would you please display a green signal at 5 minutes, the yellow signal displayed at 6 minutes, and the red signal displayed at 7 minutes, which will remain on until test speaker has finished speaking. At the conclusion of the speech, the contest sergeant at arms will escort the contestants from the room to the outbreak room. Timers for the contestants would be please display the green signal at 2 minutes, the yellow signal at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and the red signal at 3 minutes. And this will be done when they are back after the 5 minutes. And there will be no further indication of time, as the red signal will remain displayed until the contestants concludes their evaluation. The speaking order as drawn by the contestants is as follows. The first contestant, Snehil Swand. Snehil Swand, the first contestant. The second contestant, Tejaswi Menon. Tejaswi Menon, the second contestant. Now it's time to call our target speaker for today. Our target speaker for today is DTM Arid Jafar, and her title is Revenge or. Arid Jafar, Revenge or Arid Jafar. The stage is yours.
DTM Arij, before you start, may I kindly remind the audience that when DTM Arij Jafar starts speaking, you will also keep the main points that she said in your mind. So which means you will also be acting as an evaluator, gauging all the strengths, the weaknesses of her speech, the points of correction as well. DTM Arij Jafar, the stage is all yours.
DTM Arij, could you confirm that you have pinned the timer?
Can you see the timer, Arid?
Yes.
The timer is named Arun Timer.
Yes.
Okay. Ready?
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. You can raise your voice a little bit.
Thank you. Just 1 second.
Okay.
Also.
Ready? So one more. Arid Jafar, Revenge or. Stage is yours.
Stop! Raise your voice and shout stop to those who are hurting you. It's time for you to revenge.
Or contest share, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Hate, anger, revenge are our inner demons, and we all have them inside us, and we learn from them how to think before we act. 2 years ago, I was looking for a parking beside my office, and in that area, it is not easy to find one, but I had a great luck that day. Finally, after 45 minutes, I found a parking. But before I could park, another car came very fast and took my spot. Hey, that was my parking. But I got there first. I closed my window and drove away. I cried. I felt oppressed. At the same time, I started feeling angry. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt oppressed and powerless, and all you could think of was to take back what was taken from you? At that moment, anger was there for me, Anger said, "Stop acting like a baby and leave this to me." I lost control of myself. I parked my car far away, and all I could think of was revenge. I found myself next to that guy's car, and in seconds, all was done. Sometimes life puts us in a situation to see how we will react. Are we going to be good people, or our inner demons will take over? With my keys, I scratched that guy's car from front to back and went running to my office. My body was shaking, my heart was beating, anger, revenge, and myself smiled. Good job. A few minutes later, I started feeling guilt and shame. I went and checked on that guy's car every second until I saw him coming. And when he found what happened to his car, he started looking around to see who did it. Now, yes, I am not proud of what I did, but when I saw how mad he was, I felt relieved that I parked my car far away from him. But at the same time, I had mixed feelings. I believe he deserved it. Next time, he wouldn't do it again. Good job. I think that I shouldn't do that. I allowed my inner demons to control me and think that this was the right thing to do. No, it wasn't. If I think that he is a terrible person for taking my spot, I am not better than him, destroying what belongs to him. I spent days, weeks, months regretting what I did. I couldn't erase what happened from my mind. I used to wake up in the middle of the night choking, unable to breathe, think that I am a terrible person. Ladies and gentlemen, the worst feeling in the world is regret, and feel that you have become your own demons. 2 years later, I was working on a project with my assistant Layla. I have prepared everything, charts, ideas, pictures. I worked so hard on that project to present the next day to the managers, thinking of all the awards and credits I would receive, and that finally my dreams would come true. I've reached the office the next day, ready to present, but there I found Layla with the managers, presenting my ideas as her own. Hey, that was my project! You could see the devil smile in Layla's face. I closed the door and walked away. I cried. I felt oppressed. At the same time, I started feeling angry. That Layla, I will take care of her. Yes. How she could do this to me. I taught her everything. She is no one without my ideas. You know what I did to Layla? Nothing. Good job. Although my keys was with me and I could scratch her body from top to toe. But I have chosen. I have learned to forgive and let go. I have learned that sometimes we need to control ourselves and our inner demons and be better than those who hurt us. Revenge is very easy. It doesn't need a lot of effort. And maybe at that moment, you smile. But feeling the guilt and regret, suffering for days and maybe years, it's an endless torture you don't need in your life. Hate, anger, revenge are our inner demons. And yes, we all have them inside us, but we can control them when they try to take over. We can use our keys to lock them inside and replace them with love, peace, and forgiveness. So ladies and gentlemen, maybe it's a moment of anger with your friends or your kids. Maybe a friend talking about you behind your back, or your boss giving you lots of work. Think before you act, because it's your choice to revenge or good job. Back to you.
Thank you so much, DTM Arid.
Thank you.
Now, Sergeant at Arms, would you please accompany our contestants to the breakout room?
Toastmaster Hazem, confirm once done.
Okay, 1 minute. Broadcasting distribution. Aryan Wildlife doesn't mean.
So Toastmaster Hazem, are they in the breakout room or not yet?
1 second.
I'm still here. Do I need to go to breakout room too? This is Snehal.
Yes, Nehal, both you and Tajusvi will be there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't get the message to join the breakout room.
Yeah,
It will be there.
Okay.
even I haven't received the message.
Yes, DTM Heba, they are in the breakout room.
So both Toastmaster Tajusvi and Toastmaster Snehal are in the breakout room.
Yes,
Timer, please. Time 5 minutes. Our timer, would you please time 5 minutes? And now the floor is back for our trainer, DTM Nancy.
Thank you, DTM Ari Jaffer, and thank you, TM Heba. Now, now is when we start the rest of the process. So now we know that the timers have gone. Now we know that the evaluators are getting their notes ready. And what we are going to do is a quick exercise. This has to be done mentally during the contest as a judge. But what we're going to do as a quick exercise is that you're going to put down all the strengths in the chat box, just right beneath mine. Only the strengths of a DTM Ari Jaffer speech. Can you all start? Only the strengths. Come on, we've got 66 people attending and it's only 3 messages. Yes, go ahead. That's very good. Strengths, confidence, great gestures, body language, vocal variety, confidence, good story, voice modulation, eye contact, projection of emotions, facial expression, strong message, good voice, fully immersed in her story, expression, vocal modulation, structure, voice, energy, confident, enact, radial tones of body language, facial expressions, emotions, body message. DJ Marie Jaffer, I hope you're still not floating. I hope you're still seated. SOS
I am not now with happiness.
Please keep her down. I think she's literally floating in the air, but you deserve all of this. Lovely illustration, delivery message, good start, grammatical expression, pauses, good prop in hand, car keys, excellent, excellent note. True story, amazing dramatization, that was good. Grace, confident gestures, character building, sensational, and personal stories, perfect. Now we are going to go ahead with points of improvement. Okay, points of improvement is what we're going to start. So I'm going to say, I'm going to put this, I'm going to write improvements. Improvements and suggestions. And beneath this is when we will start suggestions. So when we say suggestions, you could say something like could have summarized with a take-home message, or I know what she had done it already, but yes. Pauses needed, yes, like that. All the elements of a world champion. It was points of improvement, yes. World champion, Arij. Opening was a bit off the place, okay. Improvement, eyes were wandering, less expressions, rushing through, expressions, use pauses. See, this is how it varies between different judges, the way different judges think. So a lot of them thought your expressions were great. A lot of them thought that probably this particular part could be changed. I want to see performance and motor read, slow down pace at times, eye contact, raise voice at the beginning, stage movement, background of podium. Yes, that is, but sometimes it cannot be controlled, because I saw that Diti Marie Jaffar's brother just scurried past by and she's like, oh, I'm gonna kill you. Don't do this between my speech. Use of stage when somebody...
Yeah, my brother.
Yes. Avoid using specific terms. What if someone calls someone? All right, all these are specific and specifically related to certain judges, yeah, but it's important to know how each judge thinks. Slightly better stage placement of timeline, etc. Perfect. Timer, Arun, how many minutes do we have left? Can you just show with your hands how many minutes do we have left? Timer, Arun.
Yeah, hello, yeah. Arrange spoke for 7 minutes.
Yes, well, how much minutes are left now for the breakout contestants?
Oh, okay, 1 second. 2.5 minutes.
Okay. DTM Nancy, continue.
Right. Sorry, timer, Arun, I lost you there. How many minutes do we have left?
2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes, perfect. Okay, now can I ask the moderator to post the first link of contestant number 1, Snehal Sawant. Can you please post the link of contestant number 1, Snehal Sawant? So now all your audience as judges, you already have an idea of the entire strengths of DTM Arij Jaffar. You already have an idea of the entire weaknesses of DTM Arij Jaffar, or points of improvements. So it's clearly seen that your strengths are way up there, DTM Arij, and it's just hardly 1 or 2 or 3 in the bucket for improvements. So we have the whole list. This is what we say when we say that an evaluator has to analyze, analytical thinking, analyze the whole strengths and the whole weaknesses. Now when the evaluators come, what they're going to do is whatever suggestions that they're going to say is going to come in from this pool, this huge pool of suggestions and improvements and positive comments that we have. And this is where they're going to pull it from. This is where you judge them on their analytical skills. Can I please ask each of the judges, each participant to open the link that I have sent there? The reason why I'm asking you to open it is so that you become familiarized with it. This is only for the first contestant, yeah? Once you finish opening, can you please put a thumbs up? Since everybody's video is not on, either you can put a thumbs up as an icon for your, yes, that's right, Gino, 1 to 40, but please hold on. Yes, you would see analytical quality, and that's the only one. Perfect. Thank you, Leon, for raising your hand. Yeah, I get it. So everyone has already opened it. That's perfect. Now, while we wait for the first contestant, When the first contestant starts speaking, we start thinking about arts. We start thinking about analytical quality, recommendations, technique, and the summation. In analytical quality, what are we going to look at? We're going to see whether this particular evaluator has taken some of the points of improvements and some of the strengths and weaknesses of DTM Ari Jafar's. Note in mind, we had so many, but it is this evaluator's capability to select only what is required, and that is the analytical skill. Recommendations is where you see, has the evaluator explained what exactly needs to be done? Technique, how does she put it forward? Is it positive? Is it supportive? Is it helpful? Is it going to make a reach do better? And fifth, the last one, the S, which means, did they submit well? I can see the red flag. Thank you, Timer Arun. TM Heba, you may continue with the contest. After contestant 1, please post the second link.
Now, I'll ask our Sergeant at Arms, our second Sergeant at Arms, to go to the breakout room and bring the first contestant.
TM Heba just wanted to check, is the first contestant in? I just want to put a note before the first contestant is back in. Can you confirm, is the first contestant in yet?
She's not here yet. Once
All
she's
right.
here, we'll get the
Please,
confirmation.
dear judges, when you think, also think what style do you want to go ahead using.
Should we get the contestant in?
Yes, please.
Yeah, Toastmaster Hazem, you're back into the room.
Yes, and Toastmasters.
Sorry, TM Heba.
Bring Toastmaster Snehal, please.
Is here.
She's here. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, the breakout room has been opened. All right.
Yeah.
Please.
Now it's time to call our contestant on stage. Toastmaster Snehal Swant. Toastmaster Snehal Swant, our first contestant. Floor is yours.
I'm sorry, I need to just spin the timer. May I? Yeah, I found the timer, yeah.
Aaron is our timer.
Yeah, got it. I'm ready.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, the stage is yours.
I've not driven my car in the last 3 months, but today I felt the frustration and anger and agony of not finding parking when we used to drive. Thanks to DTM Arija's wonderful speech that had me imagining all kinds of situations that I have also been through. A very good evening to fellow Toastmasters and my target speaker, DTM Arij. What a beautiful narration of personal stories. What I loved most about it is each of her personal stories were very relevant to each of our lives. Things that we all go through. We all have these parking issues. We all have some time or the other a problem with our colleague who's trying to take away credit from us. I loved how she used these examples to bring out something noble out of us that she could teach us about from her own personal experience. The second thing I loved about her speech are the expressions, her gestures, and sound effects. I loved how she patted her back. We could feel the pride in her. And she did it the second time too. The first time when she was angry and she scratched the car and she felt proud about it. And the second time when she was able to stop herself from being nasty and calmly patted herself. You could see the difference. She also made the sound effect with the car scratching with her key scratching the car. That's sound.
Yeah. You are disconnected, Tejasvi?
And finally, what I liked is the descriptive narrative. She used words like My heart was beating. My body was shaking.
You did the meeting, right? Because I don't see you.
I could experience what she was going through. I could feel my heart beating when she said it that way. Therefore, I love the beautiful narrative, the words that she used that made us visualize the entire story that she was living. Now, what is it that she could have done differently to make this beautiful speech even more impactful? Now, here are some recommendations for DTM Reach. The first and foremost, and that stood out for me, was we did not as an audience understand how the transformation happened. She was an angry person, she wanted to take revenge, and in the second incident, she calmed herself down, she refused to be nasty, and that was a noble thing to do. But how did you achieve it? As audience, we want to do that too. We also feel that anger, but we are not able to change. So it would have been amazing if we would have got some pointers, or if she could have said that I went home and spoke to my mother and she told me this, and that had an impact. And next time I remembered my mother's words, or I saw an inspirational video, or I started meditating. Some pointer would have definitely helped the audience to incorporate it into our life, because that's the whole idea of a speech in Toastmasters, especially when we help our fellow Toastmasters to be better people. How we could have done it, if you would have told us, I would have loved that. And secondly, somewhere in the beginning of the speech, you mentioned a rhetorical question. How many of you have experienced this anger? Now, while rhetorical questions are great, I feel like sometimes we force it into a speech where it is not required. Because your flow of the story was amazing, maybe it could have been avoided. In summation, let me tell you, you have an amazing speech that had beautiful personal stories that resonated with me. I loved your gestures, expressions, and sound effects. And I loved the descriptive narration. Only few things you can tell audience how to improve and give specific pointers on how we can do it. And secondly, avoid unnecessary rhetorical questions. Incorporate this, and I would like to see you as the world champion next year. Over to the contest chair.
Thank you, Toastmaster Snehal. Now we will have 1 minute for the judges to mark their ballots, please. Timer, mark 1 minute, please.
Sorry, timer, please note that even if it is more than a minute for today, it is okay, because we are all learning. We're all in the process of learning and making ourselves better. So now it's time to open our, you have already kept it open. Now you see the analytical quality is out of 40, and it looks completely, completely confusing. Like, how do you grade out of 40? This is where it's important. This is where it's important that you decide what your style is. Do you want to keep Snehal's speech as your main score point? Okay, I'm going to start scoring Snehal, and then I'm going to, and based on it, I'm going to score the next person. Or do you have a set standard in your mind that, okay, Snehal ticked so and so and so and so categories that I wanted in my head, so I'm going to start giving her so and so? Or do you want to have a base category that no matter, okay, if they do so much, I'm going to start with 15. That's what you decide here. Please do not click the second contestant ballot yet. Let's finish the first one. And then if you see recommendations, remember, try to remember if how her recommendations were, and you grade it accordingly. Once you finish that, please go ahead and grade the third part of Snehal's speech, which is the technique. How was her technique? Was her technique sensitive to the feelings and needs of the speaker? Was it inspirational? And did it inspire the speaker? Fourth, let's go to summation. Did Snehal summarize the points, what she said? Did she summarize the positives and the negatives? Was she encouraging enough? Did you feel that Arij is motivated to be the next world champion of public speaking? I know you are, Marit. Yes, I know. Do you feel that it motivated her? Once you have done this, Then the next one is, the next part is when you're going to write your name, because in a judge's ballot, you must write your name, right? So you need to write your name, let us know where you're from. I'm really sorry for this disturbance. You write your name, let us know where you're from, because as a judge, you own up to your results. This is not a secret ballot. It is a secret to everybody else, but your chief judge just know that should know who you have voted for, and you need to be accountable for, you need to be accountable for the results that you're putting out. If you finished, go ahead and click submit. Yeah, the results are coming in. That's good. Very good. I have received 26 responses so far. We still have more people. Sam, I'm really sorry. I'm breaking all the rules of the contest here.
Don't worry. No rules for today.
Perfect. Today is the only day where you get to break the rules as a judge and as a contestant. So all right, let's just give a bit more time, because this is not in paper. It's not as easy as you do it on paper. So let's consider that fact as well. If I get at least half, I will stop immediately. We will stop the poll and we'll go to the second part as soon as I get half the contestants log in with their answers. All right, I've got 32 responses. I get 3 more and we will move on. So we need at least 50% of the participants to respond to come to a common conclusion. If you don't have 50%, then it becomes biased. Let's see. Okay. All right.
Shall we call the second contestant? Not yet. DTM Nancy? DTM Nancy disappeared. DTM Nancy?
I believe she got disconnected. Just give her a minute.
I believe so.
DTM Nancy, are you in?
Yes, I believe she's back.
Yes, she is in. She's coming.
Can I please ask the host to put the link again for the second contestant?
Shall we call the second contestant?
No, TM Heba, please hold on for a second. I'm waiting for the link. Yes. Can the audience please open the second link and be ready?
Okay, done.
All right. Can you please open the second link and be ready? Okay, TM Heba, please go ahead.
Yes. DTM Hazem, would you please bring our second contestant, Snehal? Sorry, Tejaswi.
He is already here.
She's here. Okay. Now it's time for our second contestant, Tejaswi Menon. Tejaswi Menon, our second contestant. The floor is yours.
Have you ever felt powerless? The moment I heard you say that, that struck me. That struck me and started to get me into your speech. I was glued to whatever you said thereafter. The amount of positivity, the amount of power with which you started the speech, your introduction was perfect. Somewhere we understood what are you going to speak about, but still, how would you bring it across to us? The sort of stories, the personal stories that you brought in was amazing. The way you started off by sharing the parking lot instance with us, by standing to the left side of your speaking area, the way you had the two people communication, the two-way communication going on. You had voice modulation in the sense that you were rightly able to explain how would a person speak to you and what sort of feelings you would have when you felt helpless, when you felt angry, when you were agitated and you wanted to really lash out at the person who took your parking lot. And then the moment you moved on to an incident that happened 2 years later, it was a perfect movement when you moved on to the right side of your speaking area. The power was clearly seen there, presence of mind was clearly seen there. Many a times we say a lot of things but do not bring in the personal examples. You did that perfectly. The speech was properly placed. I felt that the areas where you had to bring in stress, when you said, I felt powerless, when you said, life gives you or puts you in a situation where it kind of tests you as to whether you would be positive enough and you would be human enough to react in a wise manner, or would you lose out and bring out the demon in you? That was a perfect way of explaining how a human being would feel. I felt that I have been in such a situation, the positive and the negative situation, and how I had to face the consequences. I really enjoyed your speech. But like all of us are here to learn something new, through evaluation or through our own experiences. Only one thing which I felt throughout your speech was the fact that the thin line of difference between being dramatic and bringing in the speech element was a being crossed to some extent. Somewhere I felt when you were trying to enact your voice, the power, everything was there, but somewhere it got stretched a bit. That was the only thing which I felt could have been taken care of. But otherwise, powerful, impactful message for all of us. The way you brought in the examples was really good. You were into your speech completely. Only this little change as to defining or rather understanding the difference between being dramatic and bringing in it as a dialogue during a speech. If you take care of that, you are a wonderful speaker. All of us know that. All the best. Over to the Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Tejasvi. Now it's time to mark the ballots for the judges. So I will leave you now with our trainer Nancy Vijo and the ballot for the judges. The floor is yours.
All right, I'm sure all of you have the ballots open in front of you again. Let me remind you of analytical quality. Decide on how you want to grade this speaker. Do you want to grade her based on the first contestant's evaluation? Or do you have a standard in your head based on which you would do, or do you have a base score? Once you decide on it, let's look at analytical quality. Did the evaluator analyze and identify specific strengths Sorry, I got locked out. I'm back again. Make sure, did the speaker analyze specific strengths and weaknesses? Let's move to recommendations. Were the recommendations practical, helpful, positive? Did it enable the speaker to improve his or her presentation? Let's move to the third part, techniques. Was she sensitive to the feelings and needs of the speaker? Did she inspire and encourage the speaker to do better? Let's move to the fourth part. Did the speaker summarize? Did she briefly summarize the evaluator's comments and suggestions? Was it positive and encouraging? Is it going to push DTM Arid Jaffer to do better in the next speech? Once you finish this, please put down your name and your details, because you're a judge and you are accountable for the decisions that you make. Please submit. Waiting for the results. The results are coming in. We have 28 responses so far. Moment we get two more responses, we stop. Yes, we have received 30 responses. We've received more than half the number of responses, so that's good. Let's move on to the next part of our presentation. Just allow me to share the screen. I hope my screen is visible to all of you now. Can I just see 1 or 2 thumbs up just to make sure that it is visible and that I'm actually audible? All right, perfect. Okay, we're going to look at contestant number 1 evaluation and how collectively as judges, we have scored contestant number 1. You can see the first part, analytical quality. TM Snehal, this is going to be important for you too. So this is your chance where you're evaluated by 32 judges and you know exactly where you stand and how you can improve.
Yeah.
So this is how the entire score of 40 has been divided. It's been divided into 5 groups just to make it easier for you all to understand where she stands. So collectively as a group, Snehal's score in analytical quality, she was clear and focused, and her score is between 32 to 40. So if you see, most of you have scored her in the upper quadrant, which is a very, very, very good score when it comes to a contest. Because you all have felt that the corrections that she had said were clear and focused. Let's move to recommendations. Was she positive, supportive? Was she helpful? 19 out of 32 responses have felt that she was supportive, positive, and helpful. 10 felt that she was still good. So that is an excellent response as well. Let's look at the technique. Was she sympathetic? Was she sensitive? Was she motivational? Majority of them have put 18, which is, again, it's all in the higher quadrants. 9 to 11 and 12 to 15. So that's amazing. That's an amazing score when it comes to a total of 15. Summation. Did she summarize? Was she encouraging? Again, a clear 19 people have actually put that she was clear and she had summarized. So what is her average score that as a team of judges, how much average score have we given her? She has got an average of 29, which is excellent. 29 out of 40, then she's got 24 out of 30. Sorry, 24 out of 30, which is excellent. Like those scores are amazing. Average of 12 out of 32 responses. In technique and summation, she has got 12, which is an excellent high score. There is no comparison between two contestants right now because all that we're trying to do is to learn the process of scoring. Since it's not a proper contest, we wouldn't be comparing and finding out who the winner is. Now let's move to the second contestant, TM Tejaswi. How did we score her based on analytical quality? Was she clear and focused? She's still on the upper quadrant. Most of you did feel that she was clear and focused. However, that there was a group of them who felt that she needs to be working a bit more on her clarity. Let's look at recommendations. Was she positive, supportive, helpful? So this quadrant it's more heavily towards the higher side and less likely on the other side. So we know that most of you fall into group 4. You have graded her between 18 and 23, giving her an average of 20 from 28 responses. If you look at technique, most of you feel that the technique done is well again, but the majority of the bunk falls into between 9 and 11. Did she summarize? 12 out of 28 feel she summarized well, and her score is between 12 to 15. So the data. So more or less, most of you all have, now that you can see the averages, you know how much you have scored for her, right? You have your individual response with you. You know how much you have scored, and that's going to give you a better idea of where you stand in a whole pool of judges. So if there's an average of 10 from 28 responses as a group of judge, where did you stand? Are you anywhere near the 10? Are you anywhere near that area? That's what you need to see. Okay, how close are you as a judge to the other people? Now that we have finished with this part,